Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Islamic Economics series. So, have you ever really stopped to think about what makes our economy tick? Is it just the pursuit of profit? This so-called invisible hand guiding everything from the shadows? Or could the organizing principle be something much bigger, something centered on divine will?
Today, we're going to dive deep into that very question. First, we'll set the stage for this economic showdown. Then we'll look at the secular worldview, basically an economy without God, built on Adam Smith's idea of the invisible hand. After that, we'll explore the complete opposite, an economy centered on God, built on the Islamic foundation of Tawhid. We'll put them head-to-head to see the clash, and then we'll look at the two totally different destinies these paths lead to.
All right, let's get right into it. It really all boils down to one fundamental question.
What truly organizes our economy? You know, every single economic system, whether we think about it or not, is built on a deep belief about how the world actually works. It's a worldview, and it ends up shaping everything, every single transaction, every government policy, and what we even consider to be success.
And right here, this is where we see the two paths split. On one side, you've got the idea of the economy as this giant, self-regulating machine powered by an invisible hand. But on the other side, you have the economy viewed as a kind of trust, something we manage under the direct sovereignty and guidance of God. And believe me, these two answers don't just lead to different spreadsheets. They lead to completely different ideas about our purpose in life.
So let's first unpack that secular worldview. What does an economics without God actually look like? Well, this way of thinking didn't just appear out of nowhere. It actually grew out of a huge historical shift in Western Europe, a shift that basically kicked religion out of public life and locked it away in the private sphere.
This whole process, which we call secularization, completely changed the game. It basically made religion a private matter. It was seen as irrelevant to how the real world, the world of business, politics, and science, was supposed to work.
So, with divine authority pushed to the side, religion just wasn't seen as a legitimate guide for how to run an economy anymore. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, well, he summed up this whole dramatic shift with that famous and very provocative line, "God is dead." And for economics, this was huge. It meant that morality and ethics, which used to be grounded in God's commands, now had to find a completely new source.
So what filled that huge void left by divine authority? Well, two things, really. Human reason, and maybe most importantly, human self-interest. And this gave birth to a whole new kind of hero for this story, the rational economic man. This isn't a person trying to achieve spiritual success. No, this is a purely material creature, driven by one single-minded goal, getting the most for himself.
Okay, so that's the bedrock of secular economics. But what's the alternative? Let's now pivot to an economy that is centered on God. Here, the Islamic worldview gives us a radically different starting point. The oneness of God, or Tawhid, isn't just some private belief you hold. It is the absolute, non-negotiable axiom for everything.
And that principle is Tawhid. It is the absolute heart of Islam, the belief that God, Allah, is totally one and unique. But here's the key. This isn't just a theological concept for Sunday school. In the Islamic worldview, everything, and I mean everything from law to finance to how you do your daily work, it all flows from this one powerful central idea.
You see, Tawhid is not a simple idea. It's a complete framework for reality. It means recognizing Allah as the one and only creator and sustainer of the entire universe. That means everything, from the ground beneath our feet to the global markets we trade in. And it means that all of our worship, our ultimate devotion, is directed to Him alone. This changes your entire relationship with the world.
Now, this idea of God's absolute ownership and authority completely changes our purpose here. In this worldview, every person has a dual role. On one hand, we are a servant of God, an abd, and our highest purpose is to worship Him. But at the same time, we're also His steward on earth, a khalifa. We've been entrusted with the world's resources to manage them fairly and according to His plan.
So our authority here, our ownership, it's all conditional. It's a trust and a mana from God. And this right here brings us to a major clash of worldviews. Let's put these two foundations right next to each other and really see just how different they are. Okay, this table really just lays it all out, doesn't it? The contrast is stark. Let's just zoom in on a couple of these. Take a look at the row for man. In the secular view, he's just a self-interested animal. But in the Islamic view, he's a servant and a steward with a divine mission. Now, look down at aim in life. One is all about piling up wealth and pleasure.
The other is about achieving al-falah, a success that goes way beyond this life. These aren't just minor tweaks. They create two totally different economic realities.
It's pretty clear these two worldviews are on a collision course. So, what are the actual, real-world results of these beliefs? Well, that brings us to our final section. Two paths, two destinies.
These deep, foundational differences create two completely different ideas of what success even looks like. On one side, you have what they call the hedonic treadmill of conventional economics, where we are constantly chasing more stuff, always believing that happiness is just one more purchase away. But on the other side, Islamic economics sees material well-being as more of a staircase. It's a means to get to a much, much higher spiritual goal.
And that higher goal is al-falah. It is the ultimate success. So while one system's engine runs on materialism and consumerism, defining success by what we own, the other system tries to channel all of our human desires toward a higher purpose, earning the pleasure of God both here and in the hereafter.
So in the end, the choice is between two completely different ways to measure a successful life: what you possess versus your consciousness of God and following His guidance. And this brings us right back to that fundamental question we started with. Is the foundation of our economy a choice between man's hand and God's will? It's a question that really forces us to think, what is the ultimate source of order and value in our economic lives? I'll leave you with that to ponder. See you in the next one. Subscribe, like, and comment.